think that all of the persons involved in this, Milford Schools are satisfied with the amount that they're receiving. Milford City is satisfied with their agreement. We've gotten letters from law enforcement, fire, and EMS service departments all saying that there are no increased things that they will have to do in order to make this agreement move forward. So with that in mind, any other discussion?
I'd like to say, I guess I've been working with Jeff Birding since 2012 when I became a commissioner to develop soccer fields here in Clermont County. Initially junior soccer programs with King's Hammer, and then more recently here with the elite professional soccer, FC Cincinnati. But all in all, I guess the difference is the 1% lodging tax, which separates the two. But I had kind of formulated some thoughts this morning before coming here, but I'll go ahead and read these to you. But the lodging tax legislation was designed specifically for economic development by taxing people who come here from outside the county to use our services. Our own citizens pay property taxes here, so why wouldn't we want to tax out-of-towners a little bit more? This is a consumption tax, and personally, as a conservative, I like consumption taxes because it affects those who use our services. Clermont County's economic growth and development, as a result of incentivizing companies to move here, will lead families, individuals in the county to use these new jobs and additional income to increase purchases, which in turn furthers human development with increased consumption and spending on health care, education, social services, and infrastructure. One begets the other. This will cause a higher standard of living for citizens, which is one of the primary goals as commissioners. Economic development by government has been going on forever. Let us not forget that the Republicans in the House of Representatives offered legislation which gave 160 acres to all adult male and female, black and white, native-born, or immigrants to incentivize people to move west. This was known as the Homestead Act, which Lincoln signed into law in 1862. 2 years later, Lincoln offered 40 acres and a mule to former slaves to go south. Were these healthy economic development plans? Absolutely. Were these giving government assets away to a select group of people to advance the country? Absolutely. As a business person, I love this deal. Here are the facts. Clermont County incentivizes the city of Milford to buy property for FC with a 1% lodging tax. This is estimated to be about $250,000 a year. This will result in $7 million of additional spending each year in the county, which will result in $500,000 in additional sales tax. So in summary, we give away $1 and we get $2 back, and everyone wins. And oh, by the way, the company we are incentivizing with the $250,000 per year is investing $430 million of private capital in the region for the benefit of the people. The clear winners in this transaction is the city of Milford, Clermont County as a whole, and all of our citizens who call Clermont County home.
Any other discussion?
No, I appreciate that, and just to discuss that a little further, I see this particularly as a little different view. Just to make sure, we talked about history and 40 acres and a mule. I just want to make sure that none of those landowners ever got that 40 acres. That legislation was turned over by the next incoming president, and none of those slaves, indentured people, ever received their 40 acres. I just went on that historic tour of Savannah and learned those facts. But what I will say about this is this is about picking winners and losers. Whenever you invest in a business, people tell me a lot of times that government can't be run like private business, and I disagree with that a lot. government, the stakeholders in this particular deal are the citizens of Clermont County. You know, citizens deserve to get something in return on their investment. You know, the thing that it's the basis of all business deals is it's all about money. It's all about money, folks. It's about how much money comes in and about how much money goes out. One of the things that's in this deal is we've talked about a lot of the expenses. We've talked about what the benefits are to Clermont County, but what the things we've never talked about is the revenue. You know, and so I just want to call your attention to that. You know, we probably missed an opportunity in 1964 when Coney Island moved to Kings Island and what that's done all around the county of Warren. So there's two ventures here. You know, one is the fact that, you know, a training and academy facility is exactly that. It's an academy facility. How revenue is gained from an academy facility is by the selling of memberships into the academy. You know, and that nets, I can only tell you from looking at FC Dallas, about $15 million a year. One of the things that we've never had a discussion about this deal is about what the revenue is and what's expected to the people of Clermont County. There's a lot of stake in this. There's a lot of not tax money that's being abated, or real estate taxes that won't be collected on this improved value. A lot of times when we bring businesses here, we just brought a business here called the Design Within Reach. We did give them a 20% abatement for the first 10 years, but we expect them to pay their taxes on the improved value. So I think I'd leave it at that.
Commissioner Painter, I appreciate that. Next year when I become a private citizen again, which will be nice, I'm thinking about starting a professional pickleball league. And when I come to you asking for benefits, I hope you guys turn me down.
Understood.
Because you have to pick winners and losers, and that's going to be a loser. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
No.
Call for the question, Judith.
Mr. Painter?
No.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Humphrey. I'm Chris Hicks from 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45255. My comments may be a little out of turn because they're supposed to be after the actions that will take place here today, which I'm sure will be an approval of a tax increase to support a private company. But I want to highlight a couple points that I think are really important that people know that have not really been revealed. In the development agreement around FC Cincinnati, it repeatedly refers to purchase agreements relating to the land, which are 2 parcels. I'll read a couple excerpts. Page 2. In order to facilitate development of the project, the developer, either itself or through its affiliated entity, has entered into options for the purchase of property, quote, purchase agreements. Later on page 4, it says the city, referring to Milford, will consummate the acquisition of the property pursuant to the terms of the purchase agreements. Then on page 5 of that same developer agreement, it says the developer will assign or cause to be assigned to the city, referring again to Milford, the purchase agreements for the purposes of allowing the city to acquire the fee title to the property. I found out yesterday after records requests that nobody in Milford, nobody on the commissioners, and nobody on the Port Authority has ever seen these purchase agreements. We don't know how the prices were arrived at. We don't know what negotiations took place on behalf of the taxpayers. We have government voting to commit $3.5 million, ultimately $5.4 million worth of debt service payments over 20 years to fund purchase agreements that none of us are allowed to see. I'll read an excerpt from an email I received after a records request for these purchase agreements from Mike Manier, the law director of Milford. Quote, to be absolutely clear, the city of Milford is not now, nor have we ever been in possession of any purchase agreement or other document that was presented and signed by Expressway Park. The city did not purchase the property from Expressway Park, and the parties to that transaction have not provided the city with a copy of the signed document. Nor do we have any documents signed by Beauty Ridge, the other parcel, relating to the FCC project. To me, this is a great example of government gone awry with taxpayer money. Purchase agreements for land being funded by taxpayers where the taxpayers, even their government officials, have never seen the purchase agreements. I question through what lens that makes any sense. Whether you support or oppose the agreement, through what lens does it make sense that taxpayer dollars are committed to the purchase of land without the taxpayers or their elected officials being able to see the purchase agreements in support of those things? I want to remind everybody that the price being paid for the land, we've been told, is $5 million, which is 2.5 times the latest appraised value, not the assessed value, the appraised value, which is supposed to be market value. 2.5 times. Not only does it involve the hotel tax, 100% of the hotel tax, but the citizens of Milford need to pay $43,000 to $47,000 per year to support the land purchase. By the way, why is that number variable? Because they are responsible actually for the debt obligation. So if the hotel tax were lower because of, say, a recession, the Milford residents have to pay more. That's why their payment varies. Beyond whether you have liberal or conservative views on corporate welfare for pro sports, or views on the typical outcomes of a Jeff Birding deal in our region, or the shaky business case provided by the economic study that I'm glad was provided by one of our commissioners and Milford ultimately, or that study was done by a consultant who's been paid by the CVB for multiple years. Without seeing purchase agreements for land, it is absolutely ludicrous that our government officials are committing $5.4 million of debt payments to fund that land without any transparency whatsoever. We don't know, relating to those purchase agreements, how the prices were determined. We don't even know the split between the two parcels that are involved. We don't know what fees might be being paid to other people as part of that transaction. The only thing we know is $5 million, and we know that that's 2.5 times the last appraised value of that property. Thank you very much, Commissioners, for giving me this opportunity to speak.